Hello everyone, in this video we are doing some GCSE Maths revision on the higher topics, and the paper that we are doing is a non-calculator paper. Here's a few of the instructions which I've got from the front of the paper. So because it's a non-calculator paper, so we are not allowed to use the calculator. Altogether there are 23 questions. The total marks is 80. All the marks are written in the bracket for after every question. The value of the pi is 3.142, and the main thing is you must show all your working out. So we are showing all the working out for every question then. Let's have a look to the first question now. This is that there are 9 counters in the back. So the total counters is 9. I'm going to write down this is 9. The two other colors we are having is the green and the blue counters. Ria takes at random the 2 counters from the back. Work out the probability that Ria takes 1 counter of each color. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw the tree diagram from here. So the 2 colors we are having is the green and the blue color. So this is green, this is blue, then this is green, this is blue, this is green, and this is blue. The probability the first time having the green color probability is 7/9 because total is the 9, and then the probability of having a blue color is 2/9. Remember that because here's the keyword is Ria takes 2 counters from the back. Because she's picking up 2 counters from the back, initially when the counters were 9 altogether, now she has got 1 in her hand maybe, and the remaining in the bag would be 8 counters now. So now the total is going to reduced by 1, and now it's going to be 8. So now the first time we consider that the counter maybe Ria is having is the green counter. So we're going to reduce 7 by 1. It's going to be 6. And because we know that the number of the blue counters remain the same in the back, so it would be 2 in the numerator. The other time we consider that the green counters in the back is the same, which is 7, but the one she's having in her hand is the blue counter, so it's reduced by 1. Instead of 2 now is 1. We are finding out the probability that Ria would be having 2 different colors counters. So it could be, now I'm going to write it down, because it's a 2 different color counters, so we have to go with the options with it's a green and blue, or it could be the probability of blue with the green. To find out for the blue, green with the blue, so green is here and blue is here. So this is the first combination we're going to take and write down the probabilities, which is 7/9, and the other one is times by 2/8. We're going to do plus the other one, which is the probability of blue and green. So blue is here and green is here. So we'll be having 2/9 times 7/8. We do the simplification of the first bracket first. So 7 times 2 is a 14, and 8 times 9 is 72. The other one is 14 and 72 as well. Once we would have the same denominator, we write it down once, and 14 plus 14 is a 28. Now we see that are we able to simplify it? So we know that the both goes in a 2 times table, so we can make a half of it, and half of 28 is 14, where the half of 72 is 36. Furthermore, if I see that they both are still the even numbers, so they both are still be divisible by 2. So how many 2 makes 14 is a 7, and how many 2 makes 36 is 18. We cannot simplify it more, so here this is the final answer. Remember that, as I said, in the bracket they always give the total marks. So the question we just did now is the 4 marks, and 7/18 is the final answer for it. Here we have got the next question now. This says that write down the exact value of tan 45. So what we're going to do is to draw a right angle triangle first of all. So this is right angle triangle making 90 degrees. Because we know that the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So this would be 45 degrees and this would be 45 degrees. Okay. Now we have got the 2 angles are the same. So because we have got the 2 angles are the same, which is this and this one, the length of the sides are the same as well. We need to know that what is the ratio of the lengths, which is 1 and 1. So what we're going to do is to find out the value of tan 45, we're going to use a trigonometry. So according to the angle 45, this is opposite, this is adjacent. I've taken this angle. So according to this angle 45, this is opposite, this is adjacent, and this is hypotenuse. Remember that the triangle of the tan is TOA. It means that you remember the word TOA, and that is TOA, which is the tan function opposite and adjacent. Because we are finding out what's the value of tan 45, so we're going to do opposite over adjacent. We know that opposite and adjacent, they both are 1, so simplification of that would be 1. And that was for 1 mark question. Alright, here we have got the next one now. This says that cos 60 is 0.5. Now we see that the right angle triangle is drawn already and we are finding out this x value. So this is the x value we are looking for. I'm going to draw on the side the cos triangle. So this is going to be ca. So according to the angle 60, this is opposite, this is adjacent, and this is hypotenuse. What we have to do now is we need to find out what's given to us is that the cos 60 is 0.5 and we are finding out the x value. Now we're going to see that what we have been given and what we are trying to find out. So I'm going to use the cos function now. So we are finding out the hypotenuse, which is this part. To find out hypotenuse, we can say that which is adjacent over cos x. By reading this triangle, remember this line means is a divide, where this line means is a multiply. So what's the adjacent is? Adjacent given to us in the right angle triangle, which is 4. And what's the cos x is 0.5. Remember that. Now we have to do the simplification, and to do the simplification we need to get rid of the denominator 0.5. So we times by top and the bottom by 10, and 4 times 10 is a 40, and that would be 5. Now you see that how many 5 makes 40 would be 8, and the final answer, the x value, would be 8. We'll get from here. Here we have got the next question now, which is to find out the value of 16 over 81 to the power of 3/4. Whenever we have got the indices question, the first thing I do is to split the power with the numerator and denominator separately. So this 16 is having a power 3/4, as well as this 81 is having a power 3/4 as well. Always start with by looking to the power denominator, which is 4, and see that are you able to write down this 16 as a power of 4. So 2 power 4 is a 16, and then still we having a power 3/4. In the denominator we know that 3 power 4 makes 81, and there's a 3/4 here. So what we see that now is this and this 4 would simplify, where this and this 4 would simplify each other. What you'll be having in the numerator now is 2 power 3. The denominator is 3 power 3. 2 power 3 means you multiply 2 by itself 3 times, and 3 power 3 means you multiply 3 by itself 3 times. So when you do 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8 would be in the numerator, and 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27 would be the denominator. So the simplification of whole of it would be 8 over 27. Here we have got the next question now. This is making a triangle, and we know that the sum of the angles in a triangle is always add up to 180 degree. We see that it's making a big triangle, which is ABC. We're going to read the question now, and this is that ADB is making a straight line, which clearly we can see over here. This is making a straight line here. The size of the angle DCB. So the size of the angle DC and B to the ratio of the angle ACD. So angle ACD is 2:1. Okay. Work out the size of the angle BDC. I'm going to see that which is a triangle BCD. So the bottom triangle is a BDC. And what angle we are finding out is this angle. The angle D we are looking for. What we're going to do first of all is we're going to find out how much is this angle. The whole of it. So the first thing we're going to do is we do 75 plus 51. And when you add them together, 75 with the 51, you will going to get, this is going to be 6. And 7 plus 5 is a 12. So it's 126. So the remaining angle we can have is by doing 180 minus 126. And 180 minus 126 would give you the angle which is 54 degrees. So we know that this whole angle is a 54 degree. I'm going to label it over here. Okay. Now we know that this angle this has got one part, so I'm going to highlight it. The top part has got just one part, where the bottom one has got 2 parts of it. So this has got 2 parts of it. We're going to split this 54 by 3, so we can write down 54 divided by 3. And when you do 54 divided by 3, then each of them would be 18. So in other words, we can say that this angle is 18 degree, and the other one, the bottom one, is going to be 18 times 2, which is 36. So this is 36. Now what this is that work out the size of the angle BDC. This is actually what we are finding out. So if I draw the bottom triangle here now. So this is the angle D, this is B, this is the C. This we found out that that's 36. This is the angle is a 51. And we are finding out how much is this angle. So again, we're going to use the fact that angles within the triangle is always add up to 180. And we simply add 51 with 36. that would give us 87. And to find out how much is the angle D, we have to do 180 minus 87. So when you do 180 minus 87, we'll get 93. So this is the angle that we are finding. So this angle that we found is the angle D, and that's 93 degrees. So I'm going to write down this angle is 93 degrees. Now we have got the next exam question, which is, this says that a car travels for 18 minutes. So I'm going to highlight the key information. This is 18 minutes at an average speed of 72 kilometer per hour. How far will the car travel in these 18 minutes? So we know that it is a question of the distance, speed and time. So first I'm going to draw the triangle, which is the speed, distance and time here. So I'm going to use it now. So we know the speed already, which is 72. We know the time, which is 18 minutes, and we are finding out the distance. We know that the speed is given to us in the kilometer per hour, but the time is given to us in terms of the minutes. So first of all, we're going to convert 18 minutes into an hour. So because we know that in 1 hour there are 60 minutes, so what we're going to do is, so 18 minutes into the hour would be 18 divided by 60. We can even simplify it as well. So to do the simplification of this, they both goes in a 6 times table. So you divide by 6 with the top and the bottom. So how many 6 makes 18 would be 3, and how many 6 makes 60 would be 10. So this is what we are having as the time. Okay. Now, because we have to find out the distance, to write down the formula of the distance, the formula is going to be speed times, and you multiply it with the time. So the distance is going to be the speed, which is 72, and the time is going to be 3/10. Now you simplify it now, so you see that 72 times by 3. You do on the side what 72 times by 3 is, which is 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 7 is 21, and that's 216/10. Because whenever we divide with the 10, the decimal place will go 1 before where it is. So it would be 21.6 kilometer is the distance that the car will travel in these 18 minutes. It's for 2 marks, so it's not a lot of working out, and it's just a simple question. Now here we have got another question, which is 5B, and it's for 2 marks as well. This is that David says 72 kilometers per hour is faster than 20 meter per second. So we need to compare the two things, and what are the two things is 72 kilometer per hour and the other thing is 20 meter per second. So the units are different basically. Is David correct? You must show the working out. Whenever we have to compare the two things, we have a choice, like either we convert the kilometer per hour into meter per second, or convert the meter per second into kilometer per hour. So they should be in the same unit before we're going to compare them together. So what I'm doing here now is I am converting maybe I'm going to convert this kilometer per hour into meter per second. So we know that in 1 kilometer there is 1,000 meter, and in 1 hour, so in 1 hour there is 60 times 60, which is 3,600 seconds. So this is the conversions we know. Converting 72 kilometer per hour, so 72 times by 1,000, because we are going from the kilometer to the meter, and because we are going from the hours to the seconds, so we divided by 3600. We're going to simplify them. The 2 zeros we are having in the denominator, it goes with the 2 zeros on the top, and then we are having 720 divided by 36. We're going to simplify it more, and then we compare them together. So you see that 36 and 720, they both goes in a 6 times table. So you can divide the top and the bottom by 6. How many 6 makes 72 is 12, so it would be 120. And how many 6 makes 36 would be 6 here. Still I see that we'll be able to simplify it. So how many 6 makes 120 is 20, and how many 6 makes is a 1, so that would be 20. It means that 72 kilometer per hour is not faster, but it's exactly the same speed. So I'm going to write down the final answer, because for these sort of the questions you have to write down the final statement. So you say that I'm going to try to write it down here. David is not correct because it's same speed. Okay, So whenever you show the working out, just remember to write down one line of the statement that whatever you get the conclusion of your value. Here we have got the next exam question, and it's from the third topic. What we are doing is we have been given, and this is that this whole thing can be written in the form of a square root 10, where a is an integer. So remember, integer is any positive, negative, any whole number, and find the value of a. So I'm going to start with what's given to us, which is root 5 and root 8 plus root 18. Okay, what we can do the first step is we can expand them out, because bracket means to multiply them out. So this would be root 5 times root 8 plus the other one is root 5 times root 18. Now we simplify the first two together, so this is together as one. We're going to simplify them, and 5 times 8 is a 40, so that would be root 40. Where on the other side we'll be having 5 times, you can even multiply it or you simplify it as well. Either way it would be alright. So when we do 18 times 5, which would be 8 times 5 is a 40, 5 plus 4 is a 9, so it would be root 90. Okay, now we're going to simplify the square root number. So we try to split them into the square numbers. So this would be 4 times 10 is a 40, and the other one would be 9 times 10 is a 90. Because we know 4 is a square root number, so this can be written as 2, and we'll be having 2 root 10. The other one is, because we know that 9 is a square root number, and that can be written as a 3, so it would be 3 root 10. Now 2 root 10 plus 3 root 10 would be 5 root 10, and we are having this in the form how they expect us to have the answer, and if we compare them together, we get the a value would be equals to 5. So this question was like for 3 marks. Here we have got now the next exam question, which is question number 7. And here this says that prove algebraically that 0.256, where 5 and 6 are the recurring numbers, can be written as 127 over 495. So what we're going to do first of all is, I'm going to write it down in the expanded form. So I just say that let this is x, and 0.256 5656, and it's just the recurring numbers. So the two recurring numbers you're having here is 565656. Okay, first we're going to multiply both the sides by 10, so we just have a recurring numbers on the after the decimal place. So this would be now 10x, and this would be 2.565656, and so on. Okay, the reason for us to be doing that is because we know that now after decimal we just having the recurring numbers, and we have got now 2 before the decimal place. We're going to further now, we're going to multiply this x by 1000. So we're now going to multiply this x by 1000 on this side and 1000 on the other side as well. So it would give us 1000x on this side, and we're on the other side multiplying with the 1000 means you go 3 decimal places forward. So it would be 256, and then 565656, and so on. The reason for us to be writing it down in this form is, so once we have after decimal that recurring numbers, we can take away them together. So I'm going to label now, this is a 1, this is a 2. I'm going to subtract them together. So when we subtract 1000 from 10, it would be 990x. And when you do 256 minus 2, that would be 254. The numbers after the decimal will go, because 5 take away 5, 6 take away 6, 5 take away 5 again. So all the numbers which we have after decimal on this one and after decimal on this one, when you subtract them together, you won't get anything after decimal then. So now, because we are finding out the x value, we're going to rearrange it. So we can write it down, x equals to 254 divided by 990. We're going to do one more step of the simplification, and then we'll get this thing. So to see that they both are the even numbers, so they both goes in a 2 times table. And we see that how many 2 makes 2 is a 1, then 2, and then 7, which we get 127 on the top. And making the half of 990 would be 495. So initially when we started that, it was a recurring number, and then we changed that into the fraction form. So this 0.256, where 5 and 6 as the recurring, in the fraction form it would be written as 127 over 495, and this is for 3 marks. Here we have got the next question now. So this is question number 8, and it says that there are 10 boys and 20 girls. So I'm going to highlight the key information, which is 10 boys, 20 girls. And on the same time, I'm going to write down, which means that the total is going to be 30 students. The class has a test. The mean mark for all the class is 60. So this is the mean mark is 60. So I'm going to write down mean of 30 students. Test is 60. The mean mark of the girls is 54. So mean mark of girls is 54. Okay, so this is the mean of the 30 students. This is the mean of the girls, and we know that already how many girls are there. So there are the 20 girls. So I'm going to write down the number of the girls is 20 girls here. First of all, we're going to write down the formula of the mean. So mean is going to be sum divided by the number of the terms, number of the people, the number of the objects, whatever we have got in the question. I'm going to use now each of the information. So we need to find out what are the total marks. So I'm going to start by using the first piece of the information, that mean of the 30 students is 60. So here we know that the mean is 60. The sum we don't know. So the denominator is 30. And to find out the sum marks of 30 students, the total marks of the 30 students would be, when you do 60 times by 30, and because we know 6 times 3 is 18 and we have got 2 zeros here. I'm going to do the same process to find out the total marks what the girls have scored, and then we'll be able to find out what actually they're asking to find out the mean marks for boys. Using this information now, I'll be doing everything over here, which is for the girls, and we know that to find out the sum marks of girls would be 54 times by 20, and when we do 54 times by 20, we get 1080. So we know the total marks for both boys and girls. We know the total marks of the girls. Can we find out total marks of boys? So from the total, which is 1800, when we minus 1080, we get the sum of the marks of boys, which is going to be 720. So this is the boys' marks. Now, because we are finding out the mean for boys, I'm going to write it down in the bracket. So we write the formula is the sum, which we know is 720, divided by how many are the number of the boys, which is 10. You do the simplification, the 0 will go with 0, so that would be 72. So that means that the mean marks of the boys would be 72. And again, I'm going to highlight this part, which is this question is for 3 marks then. Here we have got the next question now, where this says that here is the graph of y equals to sine x in the range between minus 180 to plus 180. Okay, it is important that we look to the range really carefully. Now, this is a transformation. On the grid, sketch the graph of y equals to sine x minus 2. Remember that if something is written outside and it's not inside, it's just like outside, which is minus 2, it means that the change would be in the y-axis. Change would be in the y-axis, and it's going to be the stretch then. So to write it down, or you can write it down as the stretch, or you say that change in the y direction. Okay. How the change is in the y direction, it means that shifting down by minus 2. So I'm going to write it down. This minus 2 means the y values is going to be translated by minus 2. So each of the y value is going to go down by 2. So I'm going to label the new coordinates. This point it as 0, it would turn to at 2. This is the point at 1. So from 1, when you minus 2, it would be at minus 1 then. So the maximum will come down to minus 1, and this is a point at minus 1 here. So all the y values will come down, and this is at 0 here. So this will come down to be at minus 2, which I'm going to label here. Then this is at, the minimum point is at here, which is at minus 1. And when you do minus 1 and minus 2, you would have then minus 3. So I'm going to write it down. Minus 3 would be here somewhere. and then we are having minus 1. This is at 0 and that would be at minus 2. So remember that if you're having this where the minus 2 is written here, so it means that the whole graph is going to be translated by minus 2. And the new graph that you'll be having would be, I'm going to join the points together, so this will be something this. So this is just the whole graph, the shape, everything would stays the same. It's just we need to remember that this would be translated down by 2. And this is for 2 marks. So here is just the sketch of the graph you have to do. Okay, so here we have got the next exam question. So it says that there's a cone and the volume of the cone is 98. The radius of the cone is 5.13. Work out an estimate for the height of the cone. Remember, the keyword over here is the estimate. So we are not using the numbers what's given to us. But first, we're going to find out that what these numbers would be approximated to. So the volume is given to us, which is 98, and the approximated to 100 then. The other thing is the radius is given to us, which is 5.13, and that would be approximated to 5. Another thing is, I'm going to look to the formula. So the formula is a third pi r square h. At the front of your paper, it always gives you the pi value. So the pi value is 3.142, which would be approximated to 3. Now we know all our values, which is given to us in the formula, and we're going to find out the height. So that's a third pi r square h. We're going to sub the values in here. So this is 100. This is 1/3 times 3 times 5 square and then times by h. So this 3 and this 3 would simplify. We'll be having 100 equal to 25 times h. The inverse of the multiply is the divide, so it would be 100 divided by 25 equals to h. And then you see that how many 25 makes 100 would be 4. So the height of the cone would be 4 centimeter. So the question was for 3 marks, so I'm going to highlight it here. Here we have got the next question, which is factorize a square minus b square. Remember that this is the difference of the two squares. So what we do is, the first step is we always write down them in the difference of the two square form. So this is a, this is b. And you just simply write them down as a plus b and a minus b. You write it down a plus b here and a minus b. This is the difference of two square factorization. Now, using that, whenever there's a word hence or otherwise, it means it is linked to the previous part. So always look to what you have done previously and then using that to do the next part then. So I'm going to make this bracket closer here. Now, if you compare this, what you have been given to what you have done in the part A, this is that you have got 2 brackets, and what you're doing is you simplify them fully. So what I'm going to do is, now you see that this whole thing is making a square. So if I say that this whole thing is a and there's a square on it, minus, then this whole thing is a b and there's a square on it. So how would we do the factorization is a plus b and a minus b. So a is, I'm going to write down on the side, a is x squared plus 4 according to this one, and b is x squared minus 2 according to this one. So we're going to do a plus b. A plus b means x squared plus 4 and then plus x squared minus 2. This would be a first bracket, which is a plus b. A minus b would be x squared plus 4 minus b means minus x squared plus 2. Remember, because we are multiplying out with the negative sign, the other sign would change. You're going to do the simplification inside the bracket. So that would be x squared plus x squared would be 2x squared plus 4 and minus 2 would be plus 2. Where on the other one, x squared and x squared are the same terms with the opposite signs, which cancels each other, and 4 plus 2 makes us a 6. Because we have to simplify it, we see that are we able to factorize something from the first bracket, which I can see that we can factorize 2 from the first bracket. We have got 6 already. Then to factorize 2 from here, we will be having then x squared plus 1. The two numbers outside the bracket multiplies together, so it would be 12x squared plus 1, and the whole simplification of that would be 12x squared plus 1. So because we are simplifying it, so we're going to leave it in the bracket form, or if you just expand it out and write it down, then still it would be correct. This is for 1 mark and this is for 3 marks. So altogether this question number 11 is for 4 marks. Here we have got the next question, which is question number 12, and this says that it is a right angle triangle. All measurements are in centimeter. The area of the triangle is 27.5. So this is the area of the triangle here. Work out the length of the shortest side of the triangle. You must show the working out. So we can find out the shortest side once we know what the unknown x value is. So the first thing we are finding out is the x value from here. Because it's the area of the triangle, so we know that base times height divided by 2 is the area of the triangle. So of this triangle, we can say that this is the base and this is the height. Now I'll be using the formula to find out what is going to be the shortest length, to find out the x value basically. What is given to us is 27.5 is the area of the triangle. So I'm going to write it down. A equals to 27.5. So I'm going to replace this in the formula, which is 27.5 equals, what's the base is? Base, as we said, is x plus 4 times the height, which is x minus 2, and the whole thing is dividing by 2. So I use the area of the triangle formula, and now I'm going to do the simplification. So simply what I'm going to do is to get rid of the fraction first. So this is the line of the divide. When it goes to the other side would multiply. So we'll be having the double of 27.5. The double of 27.5 would be 55, and the two brackets we are having is x plus 4 and x minus 2. We're going to expand the double brackets now. So you multiply them out. So this 55 remains the same. X times x makes x squared. Then it's minus 2x. Then it's plus 4x, and then it's minus 8. 55 equals x squared. When you simplify them together, minus 2x plus 4x would be plus 2x and minus 8. You bring everything to one side, so you'll be having x squared plus 2x minus 8 and minus 55. And you'll be having x squared plus 2x. When you do minus 8 and minus 55 would be minus 63. Here we know that we are getting a quadratic, and we have to do the quadratic factorization to find out the x values from here. So we're going to see that what are the two numbers. When we multiply them together, it gives us minus 63. So now we're going to see that what two numbers multiply to make minus 63. And we know that 7 times 9 makes 63. But because we should have a minus here, and we need a plus over here, so these two numbers, when you add them together, you should get plus 2. So it would be minus 7 and plus 9 would give plus 2. So when you're going to write it down in the two brackets form, it would be x minus 7 here and x plus 9 here. Both of them are equals to 0. You get the two x values from here, which would be x equals to 7 and x equals to minus 9. Now, if you sub in minus 9 in here, you get the length negative, and the length can't be negative, so we'll be ignoring this one. And we are taking x equals to 7. This value is right. So now, to find out the shortest length, you're going to use this 7 over here. So you're going to show the working out. 7 plus 4 would be equals to 11. And here, you're going to do 7 minus 2, which is going to be 5. So clearly, we can see that the shortest length of this triangle is a 5 centimeter. And it was a 5-mark question, so I'm going to highlight it over here. Here we have got the next exam question, which is to simplify fully. We see that the numerator of this is a quadratic, and the denominator of this is a quadratic as well. So on the top, we have to do the factorization, and on the bottom, we have to do the factorization as well. I'm doing them separately, so I'm writing 3x squared minus 8x minus 3. I'm going to start by multiplying the first and the last term together. So 3 times minus 3 is a minus 9. You see that how you'll be able to split them. So you multiply the two numbers to get minus 9. And when you add them together, you would have minus 8. So I can see that 9 times 1 is a 9. Using these two numbers, minus 9 and plus 1 would give you, here would be a minus 8. So when we multiply minus 9 with the 1, we would have a minus 9. So this is the multiplication. When we do minus 9 plus 1 is a minus 8. That what we are looking is the middle term. Once we have got the multiplication and the addition correct, which is our last term and the middle term right, then we split 3x squared. We keep the first term the same. We are splitting minus 8x in the form of minus 9x plus 1x minus 3. We're going to make the pairs of the first two numbers and the next two terms. and do the factorization. So the factorization is 3x and you get x minus 3 inside the bracket. From here you get x plus 1 here and x minus 3 inside the bracket. The two brackets you get from here would be x minus 3 and 3x plus 1. So this is the factorization of the numerator. Now we're going to factorize the denominator. So this was the numerator factorization. I'm going to do now 2x squared minus 6x. You can factorize 2 and x from here and you'll get x minus 3 here. So this is the factorization of the denominator. We're going to write them together now. So the numerator is the two brackets, which is x minus 3 and 3x plus 1. The denominator is 2x and x minus 3 bracket. We always cancel the same brackets, which is the part of the simplification, and we'll get 3x plus 1 on the top and 2x in the denominator. So here's the simplification of the question, and that is for 3 marks. The next question is the function question. This is that there are the two functions f and g, and the functions are defined as f of x function is the linear function. So I'm going to write it down over here, where g of x is the quadratic function, and I'm going to write it down over here. Okay. Now, given that fg of x equals to gf of x, and show that this would be equals to this thing, and this whole thing is for 5 marks to show that. I'm going to start with the left hand side. So first I'll be trying to do what fg of x is. Remember that this is a composite function. So we are subbing the g function into the f function. It always goes from the inside to the outside function. So we are subbing this g function for the first one. For the left hand side, we are subbing this g function into the f function. To write down fg of x, wherever you see x in the f function, it would be replaced by the g function. So we are having 3 and then x squared plus 4 and then minus 1 here. The next thing that we are going to do is to expand them out. So it would be 3x squared plus 3 times 4 is a 12 and then minus 1. So 3x squared plus 11. This is what we are having is fg of x. I'm going to write it down. This is fg of x, and this is what we are having is the first thing. We're going to do the right hand side now, which is 2g f of x. So I'll be doing it here now. So I'll be finding for 2g f of x. So which means that first I'm going to start by taking the f of x function as sub into the g function, and whatever we get we multiply with this 2 at the end. So g f of x would be subbing the f function into the g function. So I'm going to sub the f function this time now into the g function. So it would be 3x minus 1 with the whole square plus 4. This is g f of x. So you're going to expand out the bracket, and expanding the bracket would give 9x squared minus 6x plus 1, and there's a plus 4 here. You do the simplification, then would be 9x squared minus 6x plus 5. Because we have to have this 2 here as well, so we're going to 2g f of x means you multiply the whole of it by 2. So 9x squared minus 6x plus 5. And when you multiply it with 2, it would be 18x squared minus 12x plus 10. Because both the things are equal to each other, I'll be doing my last step over here is just taking my left hand side, which is this thing. This is the left hand side. This is the right hand side. I'm going to make them equals to each other. So 3x squared plus 11, that's equals to 18x squared minus 12x and plus 10. Now what you're trying to do is you're trying to take everything to the side, so you'll be having the 15x squared to be positive. So we are doing the inverse of this 3x squared, which would be minus 3x squared on both the sides, and then we'll be doing the inverse of this 11, which is minus 11 on both the sides. What we'll get now over here, the left hand side would be 0. So when you do 18x squared plus 3x squared would be, when you do 18x squared minus 3x squared, you would have 15x squared, then minus 12x, and then 10 take away 11 would be a minus 1. So this is what we are looking for, and we have got a proof over here. The other thing is the function f is given by, now here they are changing the function, and the function f is given by the cubic, it is a cubic function. What we are finding out is the inverse of 50 is equal to 30. We need to show that. So first we are finding out the inverse function, and when we sub in the x value 50 in the inverse function, we should come out with 3 then. So finding the inverse would be, we always begin by taking f of x equals to y. So y equals to 2x cubed minus 4. This is always the first step to change this f of x by the y variable. Then the next step is always to make x the subject. So you'll be having y plus 4 equals to 2x cubed. Because we are trying to make x the subject, it would be y plus 4 over 2 equals to x cubed. It's still x, we are not having a subject because we are having x cubed. So we do the cube root on the other side. So x would be the cube root of y plus 4 over 2. Okay. Once you made x the subject, then the last step is to changing your x variable into the f inverse of x, which I'm doing now. And the y variable would be changing into the x form. So that would be x plus 4 over 2. This is what we have found is what the f function is. Because we have to find out what the f inverse of 50 is, so it means here the x value is a 50. You sub in 15 here. So when you do 50 plus 4, it would be 54 over 2. And half of 54 is basically 27. And cube root of 27 would be 3. So here we get the whole thing would be equals to 3. And that's what we're supposed to show as well. This is for 2 marks. And I've circled that. Alright, so we have got now question number 15, and this says that there are only the red counters and there is a blue counter and a purple counter in the back. So I'm going to first write down the initials of the color. So there is a red, there's a blue, and there's a purple counter. The ratio of the number to the red counters to the blue counter is 3 and 17. So red to blue is 3 ratio 17. Sam takes at random a counter from the back. The probability that the counter is purple. I'm going to write it down on the side that the probability of the purple counter is 0.2. So if the purple counter has a probability of 0.2, it means the remaining would be the probability of the blue counter or the red counter would be 0.8. Now, which means that this represents how much? This represents 80%. So can we say that 3 plus 17, which is actually 20. So 20 parts represents 80%. Okay. If 20 parts represents for 80%, so we know that purple is 20%, the remaining 20%. So how much the 20% would represent is, to go from 80 to 20, it means you divide by 4 and you divide by 4 here as well. So it means 5 parts would represent 20%. So if I have to write it down that how many parts, this is 3 parts, red has 3 parts, blue has 17 parts, and we found out that the purple has got how many parts as the 5 parts. Because now we have to find out the total and to find out the probability of the red counters. So we are finding out the probability of the red counters. This is what we are finding out. To find out the probability, the first thing we should know how much is the total is, which is 3 plus 17 plus 5 would be 25. So we're going to find out the probability. So how many are the red? It would be 3 divided by the total, which is 25. So this is what we get the probability of the red counters. So you can write down the final answer is 3 over 25 over here. And this question is for 3 marks. Here we have got the next question. There says that prove that the square of an odd number is always 1 more than the multiple of 4. So first of all, we're going to start by choosing the odd number. So we're going to say that let the odd number be 2n plus 1. Then we see that here this says that the square of an odd number. So what that square number we have chosen, we're going to do the square of it, which is 2n plus 1 square. 2n plus 1 and 2n plus 1 can be written as 2 different brackets. Now we're going to expand them out, and that would be 4n squared plus 4n plus 1 here. Once you would have this says that prove that the square of an odd number is always 1 more than the multiple of 4. So we're going to write this down as a multiple of 4, which is 4, and this is n squared plus n plus 1, which shows that what the statement says over here is correct, that it's 1 more than the multiple of 4. The final point, we can write it down, which is thus 4n squared plus n plus 1 is 1 greater than a multiple of 4. So this question was of like 4 marks, and it's just like, I think that's easy 4 marks. Now here we have got the next question now, where this says that y is inversely proportional to d square. I'm going to highlight this information here. So which means that y is inversely proportional to d square, and it would be written like this. Where when d is 10, so what's the given information is when d is 10, y is 4. Whenever we take off the sign of the proportionality, we get the constant. So we're going to write it down, y equals to k over d square, which would be our next step. To find out the value of k, we're going to use the d and the y value from here. So 4 equals k over d square means is a 10 square. From here we get the k value, which is 4 times 10 square, and that would be 4 times 100, and k value will get is a 400. We're going to read what the next part of the information is. D is directly proportional to x square. Now we're going to use over here that the next part is d is directly proportional to x square. Again, whenever we take off the sign of the proportionality, is going to be the constant k with x square here. Now what's the given information here is when x is 2, d is 24. So I'm going to write it down here, which is when x is 2, d is 24. We're going to use this to find out the k value. And the d is 24, k we don't know, but x is 2, so square. So we're going to write it down. 2 square is a 4, that's 4k. To find out what the k value is, we divide it by 4 on both the sides, and k would be, then how many, 4 makes 24 is a 6. We got the k values from both the equations, and now find the formula of y in terms of x. So we'll be finding it out, the value of y in terms of x, and how we're going to do that is, we're going to make the equations from here. So from the first one, because now we know what the k value is, we can write it down, y equals to 400 over d square. And from the second one, we're going to write down the equation. So this is the first we are getting. From the second one, we are getting d equals, we know the k value, which is 6, and that would be 6x squared. We know both of them now. This is that find the formula, which is y in terms of x, which means that the variable that we don't want here is a d. So we don't want the d over here, or we don't want the d from here as well. What we can do is now, we can make d the subject and sub in the d value into another one. So I'm going to start from here. So I'm going to sub this d value into here to eliminate d from the equation and just get the equation in terms of y and x. So I'll be writing now, which is y equals to 400 over d square, and d square means 6x square is there already, and we do the whole square of it. So that would be 6x square, and there's a square on it. We're going to do the simplification. So y equals to 400 remains the numerator. 6 square is the 36, and this is x power 4. We do the simplification. So the simplification is basically the both goes in a 4 times table. So how many 4 makes 400 is 100. How many 4 makes 36 is a 9. And then we are having x power 4 in the denominator. Here we have got the final working out where we get y in terms of x. So we get the equation of y in terms of x, which is y equals to 100 over 9 x power 4. We have got the next question. This is that the times that 48 trains left a station on Monday were recorded. The cumulative frequency graph given the information about the number of minutes the train were delayed, correct to the nearest minute. What else is given to us is that the shortest delay is of 0 minute, where the longest delay is of 42 minutes. So what the part A is, on the grid below, draw the box plot for the information about the delays on Monday. So whenever we have to draw the box plot, the few things that we need is the smallest value. So I'm going to write it down, the lowest value. Then we should know what the lower quartile is. We should know what the median is. Then we need to know what the upper quartile is and the highest value. So here we know that the lowest value is 0, which is given to us. The highest value, this is in the previous slide, which is, this is that 42. So the highest value is 42. Now, because they considered how many trains? So 48 trains. To find out the median is the middle value, so it's the half value. To find out the median, you do 48 divided by 2, which would be 24th value we're going to look for. Now we're going to look in the now cumulative frequency, that what value we'll get for 24th value. So this is, we are having a 20 over here, then 21, 22, 23, 24. I'm going to make a straight line from 24. And clearly you can see that the line that we are getting is this one, and the value we'll get for it is 10. So we know the median value is going to be 10. I'm going to write it down here. I'll take the upper quartile away, and the median value we're going to have is a 10 then. Okay, so now we know the lowest value, we know the highest value, we know the median. Now what we are looking for is the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So the lower quartile is the 1/4 of 48, where the upper quartile is the 3/4 of 48. To find out what's 1/4 of 48, it's going to be the 12th value, because how many 4 makes 48 would be 12, and that would be the 12th value. To find out what do we get for the 12th value is, we're going to go back over here, and we're going to see that what the 12th value is. So here we have got 10, this is 11, and this is 12. We're going to make a straight line from here. As soon as it touches the graph, we're going to bring it down, and this is what we are having over here. So the value that we'll be having is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we get the lowest value is a 4. I'm going to write it down here. So the lower quartile we have is a 4 now. To find out what the upper quartile is, which is 3/4 of 48. So when you simplify 4 with 48, we are having a 12. And then to find out what the upper quartile is, 3 times 12 would be 36. So we're going to look for the 36th value. And going on to the 36th value, this is 30. Then we know this is 35. Let's have a look to the 36th value, which would be this thing. As soon as you touch this to the graph, you need to stop over there and see that what value you're going to get from here. And clearly it shows that the delay in minutes would be 20 minutes. So you get the upper quartile would be 20. Now we know everything, and we're going to write it down, plot the values on the box plot. So the first thing, I'm going to start with the lowest value. So this is the lowest value we are having at 0. Then we are having the highest value at 42. So this is 40, 41, 42 would be here. So this we are having is a 42 here. Then we draw the lower quartile. The lower quartile is at 4. So I'm going to draw the lower quartile value would be here. This is a 4 here. Then we draw the upper quartile value, which is 20. And the upper quartile value would 20 would be here. Okay. Once we would have that, now we're going to label what the median is. And because we know the median is the 10th, so I'm going to label where is going to be the 10th. 10th would be here as well. So this is the box plot we'll be having. Okay. Just to make it even more clear, we say that this is the lowest value. This is the highest value. This value we get is the lower quartile. This is, we get the upper quartile over here, and this is the median. So all these 5 things that we needed to plot any box plot is the lowest value, median, highest value, upper quartile, and the lower quartile. Here we have got the next now. This says that 48 trains left the station on Tuesday. The box plot below gives the information about the delays on Tuesday. So here for the next one, for the part B, the box plot is drawn for us already. And it is for 2 marks, and we need to compare the 2 box plots that compare the distribution of the delay on Monday with the distribution of the delay on Tuesday. Whenever we have to compare the box plot, there are a few of the things that we can use. So we can use the median, the first thing. And what do we say that about the median? We can see that the delays on Monday is more, because the median for the Monday is a 10, and the median for the Tuesday is, clearly you can see that it's 9. So we're going to write it down that on average, the delays on Monday is more than Tuesday. The first thing you're going to write it down, because then you write down with, how you know that is with the median. So you say that with a median of 10 on Monday and 9 on Tuesday. So this is what you're going to write it down. And so you say that on Mondays there's going to be the more delay as compared to the Tuesday because of comparing the median values. Another thing, this you'll get the 1 mark by writing down the one thing by using the median. The next thing you can use is the spread. It could be with the interquartile range or just with the range as well. So here to talk about the spread, we are taking the next is for the interquartile range. Now, to find out the interquartile range is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. So, interquartile range for the median for Monday is 20 minus 4, and that would be 16. The interquartile range on Tuesday would be the upper quartile. The upper quartile we are having is as 17 here, and the lower quartile we are having is 6. So, the difference between them is of 11. So, we see that there is more spread on Monday than on Tuesday. So you can say that the delays are more spread on Monday as compared to Tuesday using the interquartile range. You can say that now, which is, now what's the interquartile ranges, which is 16 on Monday and 11 on Tuesday. So you write down 2 points to having those 2 marks. Here we have got the next question now. So having this next question, this is that the graph of y equals to f of x is shown on the grid. And on the grid, draw the graph for y equals f of x plus 1 and minus 3. So this is a transformation, and with this transformation, there are the 2 things. The first thing is, you see how this is, anything is inside the bracket is the change in the x-axis but opposite. So this plus 1 means that it's a minus 1, and this change would be in the x direction. Now there's a minus 3, so anything outside the bracket will go the change in the y-axis. So this is going to be change in the y-axis. So this change would be in the y direction. Now if you have to just say that how the overall translation would be, so you see that the whole translation, the horizontal translation would be by minus 1 and the vertical translation would be by minus 3. So this is what's happening to all the points on the curve then. How we're going to plot it now? I'm going to start with this point first of all. This is a point and the coordinates of this point is minus 4 and 3. So I'm going to write down the coordinates of the first point, which I said is a minus 4 and 3. Because I say that horizontal is a minus 1, so when you do minus 4 and minus 1 would be minus 5, and do 3 take away 3 would be 0. So you get the first point at minus 5 and 0. So the new point you'll be getting would be on the x-axis here. We're going to choose another point, which is this point now. So having the point A coordinates would be minus 2 and 1. Because the translation is minus 1 and 3, it means you do minus 2 minus 1 would be minus 3. And 1 minus 3 would be minus 2. So the next point coordinate you'll be getting is at. So this point coordinate would be at minus 3 and minus 2. So minus 3 and minus 2 would be here. Now here we have got the next one now. I can choose another 1 point coordinate as well. So I'm taking this point coordinate which passes through the y-axis. And this point coordinate is basically x is 0 and y is 3. So when you do 0 minus 1 would be minus 1 and the other one would be, the other you'll getting would be minus 3, that would be 0. So we are having this point at minus 1 and 0. Minus 1 and 0 would be here then. See that how, what do we see that? Even if I can just tell this point as well, it means shifting towards the left hand side by 1. So this is the left hand side by 1 and going down by 3. So left hand side by 1 and going down by 3 would be having another point over here. We're going to join all the points to have the graph then, the new graph, and I'll be using the red pen for it. So we'll be having a graph to be going like this, then making a V shape, then getting to this point. Once we get to this point now, we'll be getting to further to where it's going to cross, and that would be a point over here. Then it's going to make a straight line. So it's exactly the same shape, but it's shifted towards the left hand side by 1 and then down by -3. So shifted left by 1 and then it's down by 3. So this is the transformation, and it's just simply for 2 marks then. Next question here says that find the exact value of the tan 30 and sine 30. Give your answer in the simplest form. So before I'm going to start it first, this is a triangle, and this is an equilateral triangle, which means that each of the angle is a 60-degree. And because now we are making a perpendicular bisector of this triangle, so it would be like this. Now, when I'm going to split this triangle, it would make a right angle triangle, which is this side is making a 90-degree here. This angles remain as a 60, because we know that any triangle add up to 180, so the remaining would be the 30-degree here. What else we do is, in this triangle, because it's an equilateral, all 3 sides are the same. It means the ratios of the length would be the same as well. So we take each of them as a 2, 2, and 2 here. But because now we are taking only the half of part over here, so this would be a 1. This whole thing is a 2, but we don't know how much is this one. Now what we are finding out is, the first thing is we're going to find out the length of this side. Because it's a right angle triangle, so what we can use is, we can use the Pythagoras Theorem to find out the remaining length. So what's the Pythagoras Theorem is? It says that c square equals to a square plus b square. C is always the hypotenuse, where a and b could be the other 2 sides of the right angle triangle. So we know that c square means is 2 square equals to a is a 1 square plus b square, and rearrange would give us 4 take away 1 equals to b square, and b equals to it would be √3, because 4 minus 1 is a 3, and getting rid of the square would be the square root, so it would means that this length is going to be √3. Once we would have that, now what we are finding out is we need to find out what tan 30 is. Now again, I'm going to draw the right angle triangle over here. So tan 30 means I'm only taking the 30-degree, which is this part. According to this angle 30-degree, this is opposite. This is making a 90-degree here. The other side of the right angle triangle is the adjacent. And the third side is always the hypotenuse, which is opposite to the 90-degree, and it's the longest side of the right angle triangle. To find out tan 30, I'm going to draw the triangle, which is TOA. We are finding out a tan function, which is tan 30, which means that opposite over adjacent. So we're going to write it down now. Tan 30 equals to opposite over adjacent. And getting the value of the tan 30, we'll see that what's opposite is. So opposite is basically this part, and this is same as a 1. So I'm going to write down that the opposite is a 1. And adjacent is basically the other side, which is this part, and other side of the right angle triangle, which is √3. So we say that tan 30 would be 1 over √3. Now we need to find out the value of sine 60. So I'm taking now the right angle triangle, but for the angle 60-degree. So I'm taking the same right angle triangle and going to draw it over here. So this is what we have, the right angle triangle. I'm taking the angle 60 this time, and according to the angle 60, this is opposite, this is adjacent, and the longest side of the right angle triangle would be the hypotenuse. So I'm going to write down hypotenuse here. Now I'm going to draw a triangle for the sine function. So the sine function triangle would be so, which is SOH. Because we are finding out what sine 60 is, sine 60 is opposite over hypotenuse. Now we're going to use the comparison to see that what's the opposite and what's the hypotenuse is. So if I see my right angle triangle, the opposite is this. And if I just compare it, what's the opposite on the right angle triangle is this part. That would be √3. So I'm going to write it down that opposite is a √3. Now to see that what's the hypotenuse is the longest length, which is 2 here. And that would be taken as 2 here. So we would have sine 60 equals to √3 over 2. Now we know what's the tan 30 and sine 30 is. Going back to the original question, this is that to multiply them together and write them down in the simplest form. So here we are multiplying them and writing it down in the simplest form. So 1 over √3 times by √3 over 2. The top and the bottom numbers are the same. They cancels each other and you'll just get a half. So it means the multiplication of tan 30 with the sine 60 is equals to half. Alright, so here we have got the question on the circle theorem. This says that A and B are the points on the circle with the center O. BC is tangent to the circle, AOC is a straight line, and angle ABO is X. So first of all, I'm going to draw the angle ABO. So this I'm going to make a straight line over here, and we know that this angle ABO is equals to X, so I'm going to draw this angle X over here. So this is a line over here, this is the angle X over here. Okay, now find the size of the angle ACB. So ACB is basically, we are finding out this size of the angle, so this what we'll be finding out then. Now what we need to know is, because center to the circumference and center to the circumference is the same length, it's making an isosceles, and because it's making an isosceles, we can say that both the lengths are the same. So the length over here and the length over here would be the same, and the angles would be the same as well. Because it's making a triangle, so first of all, we can write it down that angle OAB is X, and then the reason for that is base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal. Okay, so we have got the first thing, that why we took that this is a X. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to use another color. So the next point I'll be writing it down is to finding out this angle. So we say that the angle AOB is, because we know that it's a triangle, and it would be 180 minus 2x. And the reason for that, we're going to write it down, is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degree. Okay, now what else we can do is, now we can find out the length of this one. So I can write down how much is this angle. Okay, to find out the angle this, we know that this is making a straight line, so I can say that because this is 180 minus 2x, so this would be angles in a straight line add up to 180, so this is making a straight line would be add up to 180. So I can say that the angle BOC, which is making another side of the triangle, is going to be 180 minus 180 minus 2x, so it would be plus 2x basically. So this angle would be 2x over here, because angles in a straight line add up to 180. So now we know that this angle is also 2x. This we know that because it's a tangent to the circle, anything tangent to the circle makes a 90 degree. So this angle is going to be making a 90 degree. Now to find out the angle, which we are actually finding out is AC and B, we know that it's making a triangle. We know this angle is a 90, this angle is 2x, and we are finding it out, the angle this. So we can simply write it down as the angle ACB is equals to, and what we do is 180 minus 90 minus 2x, and that would be 90 minus 2x. Having that, and what is the reason for that is because angles in a triangle add up to 180 degree. Using this fact, we know that the angle ACB would be 90 minus 2x, and this is what we have in the simplest form then. So here we have got like the whole working out for this to find out the angle, and this is for 5 marks. So here we have got the next question, which is 22. It says that n is an integer which is greater than 1. We need to prove that n square minus 2 minus n minus 2 whole square is always an even number. So we're going to do it, we're going to expand it out and see that are we getting the even number at the end or not. So starting from n square minus 2 and minus n minus 2 whole square, which is the initial information given to us. This is a double bracket, we're going to expand it. So n square minus 2 minus would remains the same. When you expand out this bracket, it would be n square minus 4n plus 4 you would have. Expanding out with this negative sign would be n square minus 2 minus n square plus 4n and minus 4. Now we do the collecting like terms, which means that n square and minus n square would cancel each other. Then there's a 4n, and minus 4 minus 2 would be minus 6 here. We're going to factorize it because we are trying to show that the outcome that we get would be the even number. So when you factorize 2, it would be 2n minus 3, which shows that it is an even number. So we write down the final statement. So we say that therefore 2n minus 3, always an even number, since, what is the reason for that? Because it has a factor of 2. Since it has a factor of 2 for all values of n. So remember that no matters what you take the n value, because at the end you'll be multiplying it by 2, it will turn to be the even number. And this was for 4 marks here. Here we have got the last question of our paper, and then it covers all 80 marks of our non-calculator paper. So I don't know, it's like how you have found it useful. I'm sure it's like you have found this video useful. So please don't forget to subscribe my channel so to be updated with more videos. And let's do the last question together. We are having this and we need to simplify it. So we are having an algebraic fraction and we are trying to simplify it. So x minus 1 is the numerator, we keep it the same. The denominator is basically, we can write down the same bracket twice. Whenever we have the same bracket in the numerator and denominator, we can just simplify them out. And we are having now in the numerator is 1 and the denominator is 5 bracket x minus 1. And this is what we are getting, which is 1 over 5 over x minus 1. So this is what we are having here, and it's just only for 1 mark. Clearly we see that it was an easy working out. And here we have finished the whole paper. I hope you have found this working together on one paper very useful, and good luck for your exam if you have any exam coming up, and keep watching my videos.